you mentioned a word that I hesitate to use sometimes, hoarder, in that. And I'm not saying it to put you down, but I find myself, I'm like your parents' age. I'm 64. My wife is a little older, and I find it harder to keep up with all the stuff, right? My daughter, who's married, has 2 kids, uses our house to store some things. We want to buy extra things so we don't run out. You have a medical situation, so we have an old walker that my wife doesn't use anymore, and a this and a that, and all that kind of in a pile. You hate to throw it away. You don't want to use it again. Next thing you know, stuff, books, they accumulate, clothes accumulate. And next thing you know, it's not maybe a hoarder level, but there's just a bunch of junk that's not worth anything that needs attention. And yet it falls on the kids. What do they do with this stuff, right? It's not such a simple process physically. It's not such a simple process emotionally. And so I think the key is your come from. How do you approach this? And as a realtor, again, are you just getting ready to list the house, or you're trying to be sensitive to the family's needs along the way? So talk a little bit. I know you have your training program changed to where you have on-demand program more as well, and online. Everybody has since COVID. Talk about a little bit about what the program you have does to help prepare somebody to appreciate those situations and be more effective with a customer rather than just cold calling to get leads. How are we learning to be more effective in those areas?
So what I do is I teach my students how to network with the stakeholders in senior living that are actually having that difficult conversation with the families. In a time when Bill and Phil are scrambling for good advice, those people that were getting the advice from, when they refer to somebody, that referral is really strong. They need more than just the house. The house sometimes, I'm going to say, is the easy part because it's not, but their stuff is very, very overwhelming. You hit it on the head. Their identity is their stuff. They're going to go from a 2,000 square foot house down to maybe 500 square foot room, and they have way, way too much stuff. The estate sale never goes as planned. I can only give you St. Louis numbers, but they're pretty jarring when you hear them. The average estate sale in St. Louis generates between $3,000 and $5,000 in revenue. That's how much all of mom and dad's stuff sells for, and the average cost to put the sale on is between $3,000 and $5,000.
Right.
And so the family doesn't know they're going to break even until it's too late. And the Beanie Baby collection that we thought was worth $1 million wasn't. The piano you can't give away. The pool table you can't give away. And it's just a hard time. And I think you talked about this whole journey to senior living. If you knew mom only had 24 months left, would we spend 3 months cleaning the house out, 3 months rehabbing the house, and then 1 month to get it sold? The answer is absolutely not. We wouldn't do that. And I think families are starting to really value their time more. They're looking for other options. I think, too, when you look at the market, I've been in this business now 25 years. In 08, 9, and 10, when there was a downturn, and, today's not we're in a weird time, right? We won't discuss that. But back then, the houses that sat were the ones that were dated. And, the Wall Street Journal just came out with an article like a month ago that said, no one wants to buy your fixer-upper. And it's because it's so hard to find contractors right now. And I think, in this time when these families need money, probably the last thing they want to do is now start a rehab project or a clean out project. And, the word hoarder, you're right, that's an aggressive word. I like to call it an aggressive collector. Mom wasn't quite a hoarder. She was a bit of an aggressive collector. There's retail side of that. They have just too much stuff. And I think it's almost made me a minimalist in my life. We have a rule in our house: if you haven't touched it in 24 months, you probably don't need it.
Exactly.
And so, like, that walker needs to go, right? And by the way, somebody needs that walker, Bill. So let's find somebody for that walker,
And there are organizations that are available to do that. And
Yes.
I think that's because I'm in the business, I'm aware of some of those organizations that appreciate a walker. And I don't know, the thing that holds the bag for the saline, and we have all kinds of medical stuff in our house that we're trying to get rid of. Yeah. And the books, there are places that will resell books for $1 a piece, whatever, but at least somebody's using it rather than throwing it away. Yeah. And so we want to be sensitive to those things. And I think the family wants to know that mom's stuff was put to good use rather than thrown away, right? It's donated to her favorite church, donated to the thrift shop down the street that supports the church. At least be supportive of the process.
Yeah. And there's usually some resentment going on. Like, my granddaughter didn't want my bedroom set. Well, that's even hard to give away the stuff sometimes. And so, and they say this is the first generation that's pushing back against the fine china, because people my age, we don't want to use fine china. We don't have a hutch. I don't even have a hutch. I don't want fine china. I can't put it in the dishwasher. It's just things change. Right. And we can't fight it, guys. I mean, I think, like you said, we want to respect the family, meet them at their level. and help them get the most value they can out of the house. If they, I bought 1,000 houses, guys, and so I've seen everything. Like I've seen a guy's salt and pepper shaker collection; it was worth a bunch of money. I had a lady that had $300,000 worth of dolls one time. I had a guy with 1,000,000 baseball cards, right?
Wow.
But that's rare. Usually, it's just I don't like the J word. I'm not a big fan of junk. Once the heirlooms leave, which by the way, guys, takes about 5 minutes for the heirlooms to leave. The guns, gold, jewelry, stamp collection, that's all gone in 5 minutes, right? That's easy. But then everything else is just stuff.
Right.
And I had a lady one time, her parents bought a house in the early 70s in Silicon Valley. They paid $100,000 for it. And when her parents passed, the as is value was like 1.7 million. I'm like, good for you. Like that appreciated that much. And she said that it took her 2 years to clean it out after they passed. She would drive an hour and a half on the weekends and go up there. And she goes, in retrospect, I got everything out of there that mattered in the first month. From then I was just kind of going through just to kind of go through it. And it was that it's hard to separate from the stuff. But in the end, she goes, I wish I could have just picked the house up, turned it on its side and dumped everything out. Because at some point you realize it's, who it's most valuable to is the person that owns it or your own family. And it's just, the stuff can be really hard. The better we get at the stuff, everyone that's listening, the better we get at the stuff, the more houses we're going to buy.